Well, the media, they're liars, and they don't even care. They're not trying to earn your trust back. But let's take a look at a recent Gallup poll. This chart says so much. So according to a new Gallup poll, trust in the media is plummeting for all partisan groups. They don't seem to be trying to apologize. There's no mea culpa. There's a few. Recall recently there was an NPR reporter who tried to say, like, look, we lost trust during the pandemic and during the Trump years. We need to be able to see past partisan. And that guy got fired because he was the only one who was trying to soul search why people hate the media so much. So they don't care. But the chart shows that the pandemic was actually, so let's take a look at this and let's collectively think why this chart looks like this. Now, the blue line there obviously is Democrats. Democrats really trusted the media during the pandemic. So this spike here you see of the blue line between 2016 and 2024. Why do you think Democrats trusted the media so much? Was it because the media hated Trump so much during the Trump administration and the media was so popular during the pandemic? Can you think of any other explanation? And then it has since plummeted. And I think that's because Democrats now cannot explain pandemic mandates for lockdowns and vaccines. They realize the media did not report it honestly. And maybe that's why this plummet now? Why now in the year 2024 when they're getting their way?
Are you asking specifically for Democrats?
For Democrats, why?
Yeah, that's a good question in our audience. What do you guys think in the chat room? What do you guys think? Throw some comments up here on the screen. I'm extrapolating, so I'm asking you to do the same. What do you think? Why did Democrats trust the media so much between 2016 and 2024, and then it just dropped? Now, that's still a high number. Still 54% of Democrats say that they trust the media. When you compare that to, look at Republicans in red, 12%. It's plummeting and it's just going lower and lower. Dad says the pandemic was the beginning of the great exposure. Maybe that was it. Could have been like the revelations of the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Could it have been that? Could it have been the fact that they've been telling you Joe Biden's totally fine and then all of a sudden he's not? Is that part of it?
Yeah. Oh, so you've been lying to us the whole time about how great he is?
Yeah. Obviously it's Trump. They were fed almost like processed food that they could not get enough of to hate Trump during the 2016 to 2020 years. That I get. And then the pandemic, you see it slowly going down. So it's down for all groups. It's down for independents. And again, for Republicans, 12% trust the media. Who are those 12% of Republicans that trust the media? It's pitiful, but it's at least up from an all-time low in 2020 of 10%.
It has to be the people. It has to be the people like my grandparents that they used to just have Fox on 24/7. It just it was like if they were awake, Fox was on. That has to be that 12%.
That 12%, yeah.
Yeah. My
father's a Republican, and he does trust the media a lot more than most, I would say.
I think maybe older generations, they come from that sort of that generation, where you had like 3 networks. Yeah. And you had the most trusted man in news, Walter Cronkite.
Actually, I do have the age. Do you want to skip forward two charts so we look at the people who by sure. Age group? Sure. Can we go to trust in the media by age group? So yeah, you're right. It's the grandparents, right? If you look at the lines that are red, that's 65 and up. They trust the media more than any other group. And if you look at ages 18 to 50 are pretty much united in that we don't trust the media at all.
Just keep this up here. Say this is deeply, deeply troubling for the legacy media guys. If you think about this, so I don't know if you ever watch, I like to watch the legacy media from time to time to get a sense of what the hell they're talking about and the talking points and what they don't cover, because they often lie by omission on a lot of these major networks. Most of the commercials, you see retirement commercials, use your reverse mortgage, and it's almost and insurance. Oh, our friend just died. We should get life insurance. That was a commercial recently. Our friend just died because he's old. We should get life insurance. These people are being aged out of the legacy media. So the legacy media, the cable news networks, they are not replenishing their audience.
Right.
They're not getting new, younger audience members to come in and watch. And I know when I worked in legacy media, that was a big concern. And we used to make fun of CBS News because CBS was the oldest of the old.
Right.
They were the oldest. And they're not replacing those viewers anymore. No young people are like, I'm going to sit down at 6 p.m. tonight and watch the CBS Evening News.
Well, think about you want to explain what it means when people in broadcast say you're up or down in the demo. It means the demographic that we most want to advertise to. So the demo is between the ages of, I believe, 20 and 35, right?
I think it was the best demo was like 35 and 55. Between 35, the most disposable income.
The ones they want to advertise because they make the most money. Well, if you look again at this chart, the demo doesn't want you. The demo are the lines that are green and blue, and that's down, down, down. Now, I think they're losing the generation that's between 50 and 64. They're sort of keeping the elderly generation, but I think that this generation, the youngest, between 18 and 29, they haven't lost it. I think they never had it. Like, my daughter doesn't know. We were talking the other day about how Clayton and I used to work for these media, and I dropped a name like, mommy was an anchor on NBC and CBS. She doesn't know what that is. It meant nothing to her. She does care a lot that mommy's on YouTube now. So that's
no, I know my
right?
8-year-old. She has no idea that I used to anchor Fox and Friends on Fox News.
They do not care.
My little daughter, she's like, she has no idea what Fox News channel even is. You know. Go ahead, Philip.
My daughter's 18, and I don't think I've ever in my life seen her turn on the television and switch it to a channel of any kind. It has only ever been YouTube or, it's never happened.
I find it funny when they're like, okay, how can we reach this demographic? I know, let's release CNN Plus and we'll do hip behind the scenes, more modern shows and all that. And this shows the abysmal failure of them trying to connect with that demographic.
I don't see how you can recover that at all, and especially when you look at it by age group. They never cared about you, and they're never going to. Basically, let's go back to the trends of historically people who have trusted the media. The chart that I skipped, if you don't mind. This one shows that the percentage of people who have never had faith in the media is up. That's this blue dotted line. People who said don't trust them at all, and more people are reporting that. The green line is people who trusted the media, and that percentage is dropping. Let's move forward to the way that Gallup compared trust in the media to trust in other institutions, such as local governments, federal governments, things like that. Now, what do you notice about this? It seems that, of course, it's very partisan. Right now, Democrats have a high trust in the executive branch because their president is in office. Republicans, very low. Local governments still enjoy a pretty high number of support. Also, the one thing that I found maybe a little bit encouraging, like a silver lining, look at where it says trust in the American people. That still is fairly high. So across the board, we still kind of believe in ourselves. And I found that a little bit heartwarming. Do you
I believe
agree?
In myself.
No, I mean us as we believe in our.
I believe in myself.
Yeah, thank you. We believe in our community. I'm glad to hear that your confidence level is high.
I think, look, Americans are optimistic by nature, I think. And so I think America is a glass half full nation, and we believe in the promise of America. And I think that we believe in the ideals of getting back to that. So I think we do still believe in the hope of that.
Some of us do. Republicans, less so. That's less than 50%. Really? But independents, 53%. And Democrats believe in the American people. That surprised me because Democrats are always telling us we're a racist colonial society. But I guess they still do want to live here.
Right. So, it's interesting. What do they actually like about America? Because it seems like they don't actually like what America stands for. Yeah. So I'm curious what they're.
I don't know. But
Marco in our chat says, "Isn't Redacted the media?" Well, I mean, this survey is looking at corporate media, right? Like CNN, MSNBC, CBS News, Time Magazine, like all of the legacy corporate media.
People are being asked about mass media. We are independent media. We are not owned by a conglomerate. These two people here decide what we are going to cover. And so
I'd like to see somebody chart that independent media versus, mainstream media and see how it charts as far as the trust and stuff in that.
Right. Your own curated media that you choose and the algorithm chooses and you decide together. So the question is, does the media even try to regain your trust? Do they see this and think that, maybe there's blame to share? I don't think so. Not if this week's news cycle is any indication. This week, CBS News through 60 Minutes released this statement about accusations that they edited an interview with Vice President Kamala Harris to make her seem more declarative and less bumbling on the topic of Israel. This statement does not compute because it says it's false that we edited it, but here's why we edited it. Right. So what they're saying is that they did not do it in a deceitful way. They did it in a nice way. I don't think anyone should read this statement and be like, cool, we believe you. I can't show you the segment, but you can find it on X because 60 Minutes gives us copyright strikes. And again, I point this out. They never accounted for the fact that when Donald Trump was on their show in 2020, he said that the Clinton campaign spied on my campaign. And she told him that wasn't true. It turned out to be true. She told him the Hunter Biden laptop story was fake. That turned out to be true. They never apologized for that. She declaratively said, we can't let you tell these lies on 60 Minutes, but there's no correction. They didn't come back and correct it. So of course we hate them. We show you pretty much every week how the media is a liar. So that's a dead horse. But I found this today and I thought it was relevant. Jimmy Kimmel, who of course is not the news media, but part of the media, he admits that he has Trump derangement syndrome. So this doesn't help us to trust that he's even trying to be nonpartisan.
I'm an optimistic person. I'm not hysterical. I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah. If you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. Right. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person. And that's a bad combination.
Okay. So he's admitting that he thinks half of the country is deranged. He doesn't even try to understand. He says Trump has derangement syndrome about us, the media, as if he should be more worried. It's nonsensical, totally. Like he doesn't understand the American populace, clearly. Now, my worry is, though, that the media will automatically regain some of its gravitas because they sell us a war, the kind that they enjoyed during the pandemic and then squandered. So if they sell you a war, you may be scared enough to believe them again. And they are trying to do that with increasingly inflammatory language. And when they sell wars, they get promoted. That was never more clear than the Atlantic article that's going viral this week. Here is Glenn Greenwald explaining how the author of this article, Jeffrey Goldberg, is the journalist who lied about the American war in Iraq, and he now is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic because he's willing to parrot the deep state. Watch.
It's not prohibited in American corporate journalism to spread false stories and conspiracy theorists. In fact, that's the only way that you can thrive in journalism. The people who have lied the most, who have spread the most conspiracy theories, are the ones who have been promoted and enriched most within corporate journalism. The difference is the way that you have to advance in journalism is you have to tell lies and spread conspiracy theories on behalf of the CIA, and that advance the interest of the U.S. government. That is not only permitted, that's required to be promoted. What you can't do, the thing that Hirsch did that got him expelled from journalism, is he spread what are called conspiracy theories that are against the narrative of the U.S. security state, that undermine U.S. foreign policy, and that's the only thing that's prohibited. That's what gets you kicked out of journalism. As long as the conspiracy theories you're affirming and the false stories you're publishing are aligned with what the CIA says and what the Pentagon says and what the entire rest of the corporate media says, you're fine. In fact, you're better than fine. You're going to have all kinds of rewards lavished upon you. Let's remember that the journalist who did the most to convince Americans of the vital lie that Saddam Hussein had an alliance with al-Qaeda and therefore led 70% of Americans to believe the lie that Saddam Hussein participated in the planning of the 9/11 attacks was named Jeffrey Goldberg. He did that in two separate articles, one in 2002 and one in 2003 in the August Journal, The New Yorker, that even won journalism awards. He was put on NPR and every Sunday show to spread this lie. Here you see it, March 2002. The Great Terror was the name of this article from the New Yorker. In northern Iraq, there is new evidence of Saddam Hussein's genocidal war on the Kurds and of his possible ties to Al-Qaeda. And then here you have another story in early 2003, right as the U.S. was getting ready to invade Iraq, that was called The Unknown. The CIA and the Pentagon take another look at Al-Qaeda in Iraq. So Jeffrey Goldberg did more to spread the false conspiracy theory that led to the Iraq War. He also became ground zero for every Russiagate fraud. And of course, Jeffrey Goldberg is not expelled from the mainstream media. He's not writing at Substack. He is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. He was rewarded with that position as a result of the lying he did on behalf of the U.S. security state. That's the key difference. Not journalists who spread conspiracy theories and journalists who don't. It's journalists who spread conspiracy theories that the CIA wants them to spread. Those get promoted. And then there's the journalists who question the conspiracy theories of the CIA. Those get destroyed.
Yes, bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
And here's what that guy did this week is he gave Kamala Harris this new thing to campaign on, this unsourced story that Trump said he wanted the kind of generals that Hitler had. Also that that after the Fort Hood killings in 2020, he promised the victim that that the U.S. government would pay for the funeral. And then he later said that $60,000 price tag was too much for an effing Mexican. Now, this story has several sources that are denying that this ever happened. If you read it, it almost disproves itself, except for one anonymous source. And now Kamala Harris has even released a statement to the press about how terrifying this very article, unsourced article, is. I just wonder why they're allowed to say Trump is connected to Project 2025 when he's repeatedly said he doesn't know anything about it. Why they're allowed to use this unsourced. Why are they allowed to do this without any proof? Because obviously this is what they want. This is a hit piece that will be used by the deep state. I don't think to very much great effect, because obviously we don't trust them when they say it, but they're still going to keep trying. So yeah, the media deserves this fallout. Let me know what you think. This is a good segue from the story we just did about how the media is so biased, because how do you know the bias of what you're reading in any given news story? Grand News is a great place to go for that, because not only will they give you the stories that are trending in any given moment, but they'll list all the different outlets that are covering that story, and they'll let you know how much bias may be in any given story. So they'll sort of analyze it for you. You can read it for yourself, but then you can say that sort of felt one way or the other. And Ground News is a great place to sort of validate the biases that you already see. And a lot of times you want to know, something may seem totally transparent to you and you think, how can the other side even argue that? Well, you can find that on Ground News. We use it all the time for our research here at Redacted. You can look at how, again, right here, you see how different outlets covered the assassination attempt on President Trump's life. All kinds of stories like that. It's a great way to see what are the talking points being used by the clearly biased media. So take a look for yourself. You can go to ground.news/redacted. You can see through this mainstream media narrative for yourself. You can subscribe through this link and you'll get 40% off of unlimited access to Ground News this month. So again, head on over to ground.news/redacted. You also can scan that QR code if you're looking at your screen right now, or once again, ground.news/redacted.